Hello, hello. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. I got another episode for you. Look at me being all consistent. See there? You thought that I wasn't going to be. You thought that it was going to be one and then another one in a few more months, huh? Try to be more consistent with these podcast episodes because I know that people listen and learn differently. And I had someone to ask me about the podcast a few months ago, and I hadn't been able to stop thinking about it. And actually, this is my favorite form of taking in information. If I'm working out or walking or doing something around the house, I just put the headsets on. So I don't even know why I don't do it more often. But anyway, I hope you're doing well. I'm going to talk today about something that I was going to say it isn't talked about. It is, but not in the light that I believe it should, and that's money. I know growing up, especially if you grew up in my era, it was kind of taboo to talk about money. People really didn't talk about it, whether it was saving it or making it or investing it or what to do with it, spending it. It wasn't widely talked about back in the day. Now, if you are on social media, you can see for the most part, it's really kind of thrown around. It's this flamboyant, I'd say flamboyancy that you see online with the cars and the jewelry and the houses and the trips and the toys and the things. And that is the description of money. And so, unfortunately, for my great nieces that are coming up and will be online, and this is what they'll see, and this is what they'll associate money to if they aren't taught at home about the this idea of money and what it is, what it's for. And so, I wanted to share today and really get your thoughts and get your kind of your examples of money. What were you taught in your household about money? Were you taught anything about money? I know for me, I'll tell you one time we were getting ready to sit down for dinner. This is back in the day when you can leave your door open and we had a screen door, right? And I was in middle school and this guy came to see me and he knocked on the screen door and the door was open and he saw, my mom setting the table and he was like, oh, he didn't say my bad. I was about to say my bad because we didn't say it back then. I forgot what he said. And he was like, oh, and I was just like, yeah, I'll call you. I'll see you tomorrow at school. And so I remember going to school and he was like, y'all eat like that every day? And I'm like what? He said, your mom was setting the table and y'all had steaks and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't even remember what I said because to me that was normal. Setting the table, sitting with my family and eating and, lobster or shrimp or whatever, it was normal. Now, I will say that it wasn't always like that, and I'll get to that in a minute, but for me having that conversation, I thought he was weird because I'm like, what's the big deal? But I know now because, as I alluded to, that quickly changed. There was a bout of addiction. My family has this addiction. And so those times changed quickly. And so I am a result of, things happening within my family, within my life around money, things happening quickly or changing. That's what I should say, changing quickly. So I'm a product of knowing how it feels to have money and knowing how it feels not to have money. And so when he said that to me, although it was kind of to me a weird conversation, like I didn't get it, I get it now because it didn't look like that for him. And so I was asked the question about what are my thoughts around money and how do I think about money? And I really never thought about it. You know what I mean? I never put any thought around it. But then when I started to think on it, these are some of the thoughts I had. I thought about the time when, his name was Andre, when he came to the door And I thought about the conversation we had. I thought about when, we didn't have any money. I thought about when my grandmother would give me $2 and I would put it in a sock. And every time I saw her, she would give me $2 and I'd put it in a sock. To the point I didn't have, I was a kid. What was I going to spend it on? And I would have these socks full of money. And these are my thoughts around money. And my grandmother didn't have a bank, so she kept her money, her Social Security check and disability check. And then she would lend to my aunts and uncles, my mom, who worked every day. So those are my thoughts and my examples of money. And so the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I didn't understand that the relationship between money and your history of money. And when I was asked to think on it, and I really did it, things started to open up for me. There was some aha moments about different ways that I thought about money. And so, and that's been, some time ago. And so now when I'm sharing like with my daughter and with my nieces and nephews, and now I have great nieces, now I know how to, like my great nieces, bring them up into an environment and instill in them that money is a tool. Oftentimes is used as a toy, but it's a tool. It's to provide you with leverage. And there's the 1%, the 1%, percentiles out there in the world that make all of the money. And the reason why they're able to make a lot of the money in the world is because they use money as a tool. And so certain cultures were taught to, don't have debt or put your money in a savings account. In some cultures, it's leverage the debt to get you further along so that you can grow. In some cultures, it's everyone pool their money together and we help each other. I remember working somewhere and I was sitting in this girl's office and we were talking about something, and her husband pulled up and we could see outside her window, and her husband pulled up and she said, "Give me a second." So she went outside and she came back in and she was crying, and I'm like, "Everything okay?" And she said, "Yeah." She said, "Kelly," and we were really cool, right? She was like, "I didn't tell you, but we were buying a house and we didn't know how we were going to get the down payment. We needed 10% and we really wanted this house." And my husband just told me, and in the car with me were my neighbors. They had pulled together and got us the down payment. Now, you tell me, would your neighbors get together and pull money for you a down payment on your house? Yeah, me either. So when she said that, she said it's really a custom in their country. She's from India. And she said each family pulls together the money. Let's say it was $20,000. So each family would come up with $5,000 if it was 4 families, and they would give it to that family. And so whenever the next family moved into, because all of them were from India and they all lived in the same subdivision. So whenever the other people would either come to the U.S. or was ready to get out of an apartment and get into a home, the families of their friends would come together, pull the money together, and help them with a down payment. And I'm like, that's amazing. That is so amazing. And then if you think about the Asians, right? I think about the Asians at the beauty supply. And I was just there maybe a couple weeks ago. And I always think about, because now it's kids running the beauty supply. But, a few years ago, it was an older gentleman and his older wife. Now he's passed that down to the kids. And so different cultures do different things. And I know in African American culture, we don't really talk about money. We don't really help each other like that, which I think is a disservice to us all, because I think it takes a community. That's one of the reasons why I created a community, just so that we could start to think about how we're doing just different things, not just about money. And by the way, if you're not in it's a secret society, right? It's a secret. But if you're interested in getting in the community, there should be a link somewhere in the description, wherever you're listening to this, to join us. But it takes a community. I don't know one person that's a millionaire that did it by themselves. And if they tell you that, they're not telling the truth, because I know for a fact it takes more than one person. No man is an island. It takes a community to make things happen. The reason why there are billionaires is because they partner with people. And I'm getting on another topic now, but again, it's this thought around money. And so I think I'll wrap up by saying, and I just wanted to pose a question, what are your thoughts around money, and how did you grow up thinking about money? And if you really dive deep enough and think about it, the way that we think about money is really, really predicated on how we grew up around money. I'll tell you something else, and I promise I'll wrap up. Online, there's this meme. I have it posted on my personal page, and the guy's son was getting ready for school, first day of school, and he said, "What you gonna say to the girls when you see them coming in school?" And he was like, "Hello." And the guy said, no, you don't say hello. You say, what's up? What's up? And it was a funny meme. But if you think about how impressionable kids are, and how guys will say to, young guys, how many girlfriends you got? And, the kids will shy and blush, or, look, you got to get some girl. You just got one. You just got one. You need about 2 or 3. And what happens is, there's 7 or 8 now thinking about 2 or 3 girlfriends. But then when they get into their 20s or 30s, and they have these girlfriends, and now they have baby mamas, and then you get 40 and 50, and you got all these kids by these different women, and you got divorces underneath your belt. But we don't associate that. We don't think about that. And then the flip side with ladies, think about, well, if your mom or your auntie or your grandmother saying marry a man with money, they got to have a lot of money. And you wonder why men say, well, women are gold diggers, because they don't want to be thought of as just, a dollar sign, and so now women go around looking for sugar daddies and men with money, and not getting their own, and living their life going after, and then they're in their 20s and 30s, and they have these old men coming after them because they got a street name, and then they're 40 and 50 wondering why they're alone and not knowing how to fend or for themselves, because they went after somebody else to help validate them, to help to kind of take care of them, and they're dependent upon them, all because of what we've learned in our past or didn't learn. So these are some of the things that you may want to consider if you're at a point, because I know there's people that are halfway through their lives, and if they miss one paycheck, they may be out on the street. And that shouldn't be the case. There may be some that are halfway through their lives and they've never made 6 figures before. And I wouldn't say, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people are making it and they're just fine. They don't need to make 6 figures. And I'm totally cool with that. But if it's something that you desire to do, and if you put money into an education that was 6 figures and you're not making 6 figures, that's something that might be something to consider or to think about. And so I always want to get us to think. And one of the reasons why I'm out here and I'm doing this, what I do out here online or social media, whatever you want to call it, is just so that we can start thinking differently. Had I been told going through my life early on, before I hit the second half, about these things that nobody talks about, my life would turn out a lot differently. I know that for a fact. But see, nobody told us. Nobody told me. Now let me talk about me. And so something to think about. Leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts around money, how you grew up around money. And again, it doesn't have to be doom and gloom. It could be good. And we need to hear those stories as well. So leave me a comment wherever you're listening to this. I would love to hear. And let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, my friend, I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you in the next one.